I like this, love this. I got my little paddle here. Thank you guys so much for, first off, inviting me to speak with you all. I'm super excited. Yes, my name is Monique Aguirre. I'm a senior recruiter for global operations at Meta. And I'm also a very active member of some of our employee resource groups like Latin at, Women at. For those of you that don't know, Meta recently went through a big name change. Obviously, we were named Facebook prior, but Meta really encompasses all the amazing products that we service. So, think Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, ton of new things coming out. So that's why we kind of went through that whole name change recently. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about some of the diversity initiatives that we are looking towards. I don't know if you guys know this, but actually recently we put in place a 5-year plan to increase diversity across all of our product spaces and all of the industries that we kind of touch. So excited to answer some of your guys' questions related to that as well. I think there was another slide, but correct me if I'm wrong, sorry.
No worries. Just give me the high sign when you want me to flip, because I don't want to flip before y'all are ready.
Totally perfect. Awesome. So yeah, here are a few of our principles. We actually just went through a company-wide kind of revamp of what we're aiming towards. For example, like give people a voice. Obviously that directly ties to our mission of wanting to increase diversity across all of our product spaces. Meta's goal is really to make sure that our products represent the communities that we serve. And so, for example, in the last 2 years, we've actually increased our Black workforce and Black leaders within Meta almost 40%, and that's just the beginning. So I think giving people a voice is huge. Obviously, servicing the different communities. You might have heard Sheryl Sandberg talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that we're doing with like small businesses and underserved communities. So excited to talk about that as well. And then our other 3 values here are also super important in terms of like keeping people safe, protecting privacy. That's one that's really important to me because I work within global operations. I hire a lot of product and like project and program managers related to making sure that our users are safe in the platforms that we utilize. And so that's obviously just a small fraction of the areas that we do here at Meta, but very excited to kind of chat with you guys about your experience and any questions that you have about how we're increasing our workforce this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monique. And, just as a personal aside, that first picture, I'm guessing that was from your wedding. That is gorgeous.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was from my wedding. I got married last year, post-COVID. So
oh yeah, love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us about Meta. Okay.
So sorry.
Oh, yes, please.
Quick call out. We have a resume book that we will make available to all attendees, like post communication, we'll be sending that out. So I know you can see my little UR or my little QR code right here. Feel free, that takes you obviously directly to our Power to Fly profile, but just wanted to call out that we will be sending out post comms with a resume book for anybody that's interested in putting in their application at Meta. But excited to hear our other speakers as well.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for that call out. And same goes for any of our career company presenters. Please feel free to talk over me. Again, I get paid to fill the silence, so don't let me interrupt you or throw you off your game. Okay, so up next, we're going to hear about Collins Aerospace from Roberta Schmidt. Roberta, I'm going to yield the stage to you.
And I was muted. That's always embarrassing, right? So hi, everybody. I'm Roberta Schmidt. I am the DE&I project manager for Collins Aerospace's talent acquisition organization. So some of you might be familiar with Collins Aerospace. If you're not, I'll give you a little bit of introduction. We are a unit of Raytheon Technologies. We are a leader in technologically advanced and intelligent solutions in the aerospace and defense industry. And what brought me to Collins was honestly just the overall community feel and the connection that I feel as a woman who is represented across multiple dimensions of diversity. It's what keeps me here and why I am proud to represent the company today. We absolutely have a culture where we encourage people to bring their authentic selves to work. and we believe that, you know, we want our people to feel represented and know that they have an equal opportunity here at the company. And the catchphrase that, I hate to call it a catchphrase, but it truly kind of encompasses what I try to communicate about our company with job seekers, is that we truly are all welcome, all equal, and all in. Pardon me. So you might be familiar with a little bit of our history. I wanted to ensure that everybody kind of understood who we were, and then we can talk a little bit about our values. So Collins Aerospace was formed in 2018 with the combination of UTC Aerospace Systems and Rockwell Collins. And both of those companies had a really strong background in shaping the aerospace and defense industry over the last 100 years. We have more than 300 sites globally, and we have a workforce of over 67,000 employees globally. So if you've flown in an airplane, chances are something on that plane was designed and produced by Collins Aerospace. We also have a history of being involved in some pretty remarkable moments in space exploration. UTC, our previous company, designed the spacesuits worn by America's first astronauts during the Mercury program. And Rockwell Collins, our other side of the business, provided the communications equipment that is used by every American astronaut traveling through space. So, and that includes the footage of the first step on the moon. So I like to say we're kind of a big deal in aerospace. And we're so happy to chat with you today in the breakout rooms for engineering, business and HR, and upskilling in early careers. In response to COVID, we actually began looking at every single one of our roles and determined that we needed to shift our focus from being on-site only. We now have multiple roles across the company globally that are now remote or hybrid as well. So if that interests you, please let one of our recruiters know. So let's talk a little bit about the Collins values. We're looking for individuals who are willing to represent those values through collaborating, communicating effectively, being courageous. And I think this goes back to our entrepreneurial spirit. We need to be courageous in challenging each other and challenging the quote unquote status quo, okay? We're always customer focused. We are developing talent, whether it's our personal talent or the talent of individuals who report to us or that we report to. We believe a lot in reverse mentoring here at the company, and we have specific programs for reverse mentoring. We instill trust with each other, and we look for individuals who have that strategic vision. So I would love to hear questions from people about Collins Aerospace, and I'm so glad to be here with the rest of the panelists.
There's my unmute button. Thank you so much, Roberta. I always love getting a chance to work with Collins Aerospace, so I can talk to you again. And for those of you who don't know, Roberta is also located in Ohio, pretty close to me. And I do see we've got people in the chat sharing, where they're coming in from. So please feel free if you'd like to. And then we've also got people chiming in with some feedback on like the QR codes and stuff. Thank you. Thank you all so much for this feedback. It really helps us so that way we can make changes so you all have a better experience on the next virtual job fair. So if you got stuff that we can do better, please let us know. You can also reach out to hi at powertofly.com. That's our help desk, and that's where we check to make sure we haven't missed any feedback on events like today. So please feel free to let us know, what we could be doing better for you on these job fairs. Okay, so Roberta, Roberta gave us a really great overview of Collins Aerospace. Now we are going to move on to Game Changer and hear from Keith Acernio. Keith, do you want to take the stage?
I do. And I also have a question. Is it okay if I share my screen and run us through a presentation? Is that kosher, or am I not allowed to do that?
It has to be less than 2 minutes.
Okay, then I won't do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Normally,
cool.
Absolutely yes. And we love to see that initiative. We just got to keep to time with the new format. But thank you for that question. And we will obviously make note of it so we can see what we can do for next time.
Understood. Yeah, no worries. All good. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to speak with you and talk with you and answer your questions a little bit later on. But I want to just talk to you about Game Changer for a second. So, but before I do, I'm the director of product design for Game Changer, and I've been at Game Changer for 8 years now, which I don't know, seems like an eternity in the tech industry, but hopefully that just speaks volumes to the company that I work for and the people that we serve. We just to give you a quick overview about Game Changer and to kind of like whet your appetite a bit there. Game Changer's belief is that, well, we're a sports technology company to begin with, and we believe in the power of youth sports. We believe that sports can inspire and shape the youth of millions of youth individuals throughout our country and the world for that matter. The power of sports has the ability to build great character and conquer weaknesses and change the way young people perceive themselves and their place in the world. So we do that by serving youth sports communities with what we call game coverage. Game coverage is really just in a nutshell, the ability for parents, family members, fans, anyone to be able to watch their loved ones play a sport and be able to interact with them on a different level. If grandma's across the country, for example, they can see their grandkid via live stream through our Game Changer product. The other side of our business is the game coverage creation. So we give coaches and team members and staff the tools they need to actually create the game coverage. So they can use their phone to live record a game. They can use their phone to score keep the game so that people consuming game coverage can have a great experience. Game Changer is the #1 scorekeeping app in the App Store. We have an awesome App Store rating. In terms of our reach, we have over 7 million users on our platform today. We have over 500,000 teams using Game Changer, and we have covered over 24 million games in our lifetime. We primarily, our sweet spot right now is baseball and softball and providing experiences for that sport, but we're actually looking to break out and expand into other sports as well. And to give you some context in terms of the data that we're working with, 24 million games covered for Game Changer is like running millions of circles around the amount of games that Major League Baseball has covered in their entire existence. So the sheer amount of games that we cover is really quite impressive. We also, one of our core values is customer obsession. And as a product designer, I take a lot of pride in that. We care deeply about the people that use our product, and the people that use us come from all ways of life, different ages, different backgrounds, and we take a lot of that into consideration when we're actually building our product. It's really awesome to hear all the feedback from our users about how Game Changers change their lives or help them connect with a loved one because they're serving overseas for the military. So that's my spiel. I'm happy to answer any additional questions about Game Changer in the breakout rooms and also some of the initiatives that we've taken around diversity and inclusion.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Keith. We're going to move on to our next slide and our next presenter here. But just to reiterate, if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat if you'd like. We can, hopefully we'll be able to address anything in there. But if you have questions that are not addressed, please, feel free to ask them again in the breakout sessions. Like Keith said, you'll get a chance to come off mute if you would like. But you can also, you can ask those questions in the breakout sessions, and we will try to answer all the questions that come in here on the chat. So please feel free to keep sending those. All right, let's go next to Back Market. Natalie, why don't you tell us some more about this great org?
All right, yes. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. So Back Market is an online marketplace exclusively dedicated to the sale of used electronics. As you guys all probably know, e-waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the world. Our mission at Back Market is to eliminate e-waste by making the purchase of used electronics safe, trusted, and mainstream. We're doing that by offering discounts as steep as 70% on the devices all of us need, all of the Apple products that you guys are looking for, and categories far outside of Apple. And so right now, about 70% of the cars purchased in the United States are used. At the same time, only about 4 to 6% of the electronics devices purchased in the US are used. Huge difference there. We want to make the used electronics industry operate a lot more like the used car industry, and there's $1 trillion worth of purchasing power to really tap into. And at this time, about 65% of our customers are buying a used electronic device for the very first time. So that's an indication to us that we're succeeding. And Back Market launched in Paris in 2014. Since then, our team has grown to over 600 people in offices in New York, Prague, Bordeaux, Berlin, Barcelona, and we of course accommodate remote working. I was actually about our 18th hire in the US office, and I now lead our US-based new business development and onboarding efforts. And just a little bit about me, I joined Back Market because I'm passionate about making sure that marginalized groups aren't left out to dry when it comes to getting the resources and money we need to fight climate change. And I also noticed that tech is now an essential part of everyone's life, and that devices are getting more and more expensive. In order for people throughout our society to succeed, they need access to affordable electronics, and Back Market is making that a reality. Could you hit the next slide for me? Perfect. And so right here, you guys will see our 5 values or 5 principles at Back Market. Those principles are thinking deep and deciding fast. We're a small, young, agile company, and we need to make our choices quickly. Next, this is Sparta. What that means is we tackle challenges better when we tackle them collectively. Having our teams siloed and not communicating with each other, that doesn't work for us. Minimum resources and maximum impact. We are a young company and we're very well funded. We have a $6 billion valuation and we've raised over $980 million to date, but it's still important to us to be frugal with our time and our projects and our budget. You got to make it work. Of course, it's not green enough. Like I said, the mission of our company is to eliminate e-waste. So if a project isn't green, we're not going to do it, period. And then lastly, one loving and free-spirited tribe. Fair rules, fair play, fair say. It's really important to us that we are incorporating all perspectives. We're a global company. We're serving customers in 19 countries across the world. Our workforce must reflect that. And that's why we're here today. And that's all from me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie. There's a ton of love coming along in the chat. People that didn't know about Back Market, but now they do. This is wonderful. I'm so happy to learn about this partnership. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise on Back Market today. All right, up next, we're going to talk to Ed Wang from Pacific Western Bank. Ed, if you would like to take the stage, please feel free.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, I apologize for this background. It's just the standard Zoom background, so you guys probably have seen it 1,000 times already. All right, so a little bit about the bank. So what I like to tell people about our bank is first and foremost, we are a business bank, a business bank, but we have a community focus. So what that means is we are national in terms of footprint. So we do have locations that are scattered throughout the United States. We're a US-based bank, scattered throughout the United States, but mainly we're broken up into 3 main sections in terms of business and revenue, how we go about, go through our day to day. The main part of our business is our consumer bank, community bank, consumer bank, community bank, based mainly out here in California. We have 69 branches, 67 of them are here in California. We have 1 in Denver, and then also 1 out in North Carolina. And then out in North Carolina is where our venture banking group sits. So the venture banking group mainly deals with businesses that are startups, dealing with venture capitalists, businesses that deal with, in that space specifically, not necessarily well-established, small mom and pop shops, things of that nature. And then we also have a arm of employees that sit in Chevy Chase, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. area, and they mainly specialize in national lending. So National lending refers specifically to businesses that are national in nature. So out here in California, the community banking group mainly services small mom and pop shops, companies that are smaller in nature, and they come into our branches and do their banking transactions that way. Whereas national lenders, we're dealing with much larger companies, and our loans and terms of the loans are much more complicated, much larger. So that's kind of how our bank is broken up into. We have, as the slide states, we have about $40 billion in assets, and we continue to grow. We are growing at a pretty extravagant pace. We do a lot of acquisitions, mainly of smaller banks or smaller lenders that we see an opportunity in. So the next slide talks about the social responsibility aspect. So what I want to do is I'll put it into our chat so you guys can all get access to it. But we speak about it, or we refer to this in our webpage. Under About Us, it goes into specifics about both our social responsibility, our ESG report that we filed in 2021 for the year 2020. We're in the current process of refiling it again for 2021 now in 2022, and how we have such a high rating in terms of our ESG. And then it also goes into specifics about some of the other things that we're doing in terms of corporate governance, sustainability, community development, obviously DE&I. We have a lot of data. I'm not going to go into detail here, but we do offer a lot of data on the website for you to refer to. One is the ESG report that we filed. It's a 17-page report that has a lot of good information for you guys to all learn about what we're doing as a bank. Like when you think about a bank, you don't necessarily think about the aspect of ESG, the social responsibility and corporate responsibility, and the things that we're doing in that space. But nonetheless, you can learn about what we're doing within that space, and also some of the highlights in terms of community reinvestment that we are doing. We do a lot of good things in this realm, and it also gives down a diversity breakdown of our bank as well, which is something really cool to see. Me being in talent acquisition, I head up the TA team here within the bank, seeing that we're able to make an impact in terms of diversity in the workforce, how that's made up, and continue to drive the inclusion part of D&I. I think is something that is really important both for me and also just for the bank in general.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ed, for sharing that with us. Or Edward, apologies if I've shortened your name.
You can call me Ed. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. So we're going to hear from the last company on our panel today. This is Entity Academy. So Maria, if you would like to come onto the stage, then we can proceed with sharing your amazing group with our attendees today.
All right. Yes. Hi, everybody. As she said, my name is Maria. Later in the breakout rooms, you will meet Hannah Kraus, who's one of our internal mentors. And she works with our mentees every single day. So she's going to give a little more of an in-depth look into what it's like to be a student with Entity, whereas I'm going to kind of give a little bit more about who we are as a company and what we stand for. And I know that the QR codes on our backgrounds haven't really been working, but I do have some QR codes throughout my presentation where you can schedule a call with one of our associate directors and talk a little bit more with them about our programs. But just to give a little bit of background on who we are a company that is focused on the gender pay gap and closing it through upskilling women for modern careers. So the theme of today's fair, what's working and what's needed. Our primary mission, like I said, is to close that gap, especially in industries such as tech. Right now, it is still very much a boys' club, and hopefully by helping women upskill for lucrative positions in tech and providing them with mentorship opportunities and soft skills training, things like that. We're really hoping to get them into more 21st century careers and closer to, gender parity overall. Three of the courses that we offer are in data science, software development, and digital marketing. And we kind of picked those verticals because we've noticed, there's a lack of diversity in them, as you can see from the numbers on the screen. But right now men are still holding, down positions in these really exciting fields. And we feel that these numbers have to change. But the problem is that because the tech industry moves so fast, there's a skills gap, which creates a barrier to entry for women in tech. So, if you've been looking to start a tech career, but don't feel like you have the skills that you're seeing in job postings, that's where we're here to help. We're here to kind of bridge that skills gap that you might be feeling, even if you do have, a college degree. Sometimes it doesn't guarantee a job with those certain skills. So the programs were designed with the working professional in mind. The majority of them are asynchronous and part-time. The exception is our Writers Collective Plus, which is our digital marketing program. There's some asynchronous content, but we are offering live classes every week through our collaboration with UCLA Extension. I'm an alum of the Writers Collective program, so it is very near and dear to my heart. And what's really exciting about our collaboration with UCLA Extension is that, for the folks that are still in school, they can receive 5 college credit units towards a bachelor's degree. And, even if you're not in school, you still get a certification from UCLA Extension in multi-platform digital marketing. And it's an entity exclusive course. So it's totally unique. If you could go to the next slide.
That's actually all I have for y'all. It's just these two. So it might have been on an earlier version, but because we're keeping everybody to the 2-minute mark.
Oh, gotcha.
So apologies for that.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Did you want to share without the slide? Is that okay?
Yeah. So the slide that I was thinking of had start dates for our next programs. Our data science and software development, we have start dates every 3 weeks, so people are always coming in. And the next one is on March 28th. And then for the digital marketing program, our next start is May 9th. So that was that. And like I said, you can schedule a call with one of our associate directors of admissions who can give you, a ton of information and really walk you through what the best option for you would be.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Maria. That was great. Okay, so that brings our presentation section to an end, but we are now going to go into our Q&A so that y'all can, keep learning some more about these great companies. Now, we have questions that we knew, y'all would want to find out about. So we've got a bunch of those to pick from. But like I said earlier, if you want to be, if you want to get the most out of today's session, I highly recommend if you have a question, share it in the chat. It's going to be there on the, I'm so used to this, the shtick from the job fair or from the summit this week, but basically participate in the Zoom chat. You can do that there. We're going to be recording as many questions as we can. So if we aren't able to get to yours, apologies, but you can also ask them in breakout sessions later on. So to get us started here, I'm going to start spotlighting all of our attendees, all of our partner, company partner people here. And we're going to try and dive into some of these questions. But like I said, if you want to know something, ask us. Let us know that you want to talk about it so that way we know. Now, first thing, I'm going to try and do kind of a popcorn round and keep these things moving quickly. But for all of our company reps, let's talk a little bit about hiring and kind of like a really high level. Can you hire internationally? How do people know roles are remote? Do you need to live in the location to apply for those? What does that kind of look like high level at your company? Obviously, it might, kind of differ from department to department or position to position, but in general, what do people need to know if they are applying from somewhere outside of North America? If they are looking to apply for a remote role, what should people know? Keith, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So we are just looking for candidates within the United States right now. That could potentially change in the future, but for the time being, we're just looking for within the US. And we are fully remote. We have employees who are full-time that work throughout the country. Our headquarters is based in New York City. Even people that live in the New York area are working fully remote. We think that's a big selling point for people to want to work at Game Changer, which is why we try to make it as obvious as possible on our website and also on the job application that this is a fully remote position. You also have the ability to come into the office if you'd like to. We do have a really nice office that I fear won't be our office moving forward one day. And yeah, did I miss any additional question that you wanted me to answer?
No, I think that should be good. Yeah, because that's mostly what we're getting asked, at least for the high level, is, can you hire internationally? And what are, your options if people are looking to join? How do they know that a role is remote? Are there, is there like some companies have kind of a specific terminology for this, or might display it in a different way. So if it's something you have to go hunting for, what should people know when they're looking at those roles for Game Changer?
Gotcha. Just to add one more thing, sorry. So we specify it just as being fully remote. That's the terminology we use. And also just to add like a bit more, our employees, we offer flexible work hours. So if an employee is working on the West Coast and some of their team members are on the East Coast, then we trust that the team and the employees will figure out a good cadence and also figure out when is most appropriate to schedule meetings and whatnot. So.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you for that, Keith. Let's go next to Felipe. Let's talk to you about Back Market. Oh no, wait, Felipe, do you want to do this, or Laura, do you want to take it?
We can do it together. I can do it for the US. Hi guys, hi everyone. So I'm the talent acquisition partner for the US at Back Market. And to answer some of those questions. So we currently are open for everyone who has work authorization in the US. And we are going back to the office. So we currently have a hybrid model in place where you get to choose 1 to 2 days in the office every week. And we currently have our pretty amazing offices in Brooklyn. So we have an amazing view of the Manhattan skyline. And we are, regarding Europe roles, I know that Laura also has something to say about European roles.
Yeah, hi everybody. First of all, apologies for my voice. I have such a cold, but I'm fine. So Back Market, although we're present in 17 countries, we do hire remote, basically everywhere that we have an entity. So you can be based in France, like I am in the middle of the mountains, in a very remote location, and work for a company like Back Market. The same goes for the US. The same goes for for Spain, the Czech Republic, the UK, etc. We do have remote in the job titles, but where it doesn't actually state full remote in the job title, the chances are that the role probably will be at least half remote. We offer stipends to get you set up for your home office. We offer so many cool activities where everybody can come together, travel. It's a really fun place to work.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we are getting more questions from people in the thread asking about, where we can find certain roles. Are you hiring for blah, blah, blah? Definitely make your way back to the virtual job fair landing page. You can click on the company names, and that will take you right away to their FAQs, similar to what we've shared as an external Google Doc in previous job fairs, but it'll also take you where you can search their open roles. So definitely, take advantage of those options. So that way you can use your FaceTime with these company reps to find out information that might not be Googleable. All right, so let's talk to, let's see, Monique, do you want to address this on behalf of Meta, please?
Yeah, definitely. Do we offer remote roles? Yes, we're trying to be 50% remote as a company, globally. So we do offer roles internationally. I will say, like, our recruiting teams are broken up. So I'm a part of our NORAM team, but we do have a team that supports EMEA, APAC, LATAM. So definitely we're all across the globe there. I saw some questions in the chat just about like remote work and if there's a stipend. We do offer a stipend to help set up your home office, which comes in 30 days after your start date. We do provide tech, obviously, for you to get that piece set up, but anything related to that, if you are a remote employee, we do provide that upon hire. For those that do want to go back into the office, because I think personally Meta has really cool office spaces, we do have roles that obviously sit out of different areas within the world as well. We have offices across the country. I sit in the Bay Area. I'm a remote employee, but I don't sit out of one of the offices, but we have amazing offices here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we also have a hybrid schedule for those that do choose to go back into the office. There's a lot of flexibility there. Expectation is that you just go in 50% of the time, and then you can kind of choose 50% of your week to work remotely. I will just say the caveat, like if your role is working with like physical hardware or requires you to be on site, maybe a little bit of a different requirement there. We try to show that in the job descriptions that we have, and all of our job descriptions will say, if they're open to remote and what office locations we're able to support you out of. So everything should be super clear when you go to apply for those, but hopefully that helps.
There we go. Yes, thank you, Monique. That is awesome. All right, Roberta, would you like to touch on this for Collins? What does it look like to hire international? How do they know if remote roles mean remote? That whole kind of thing.
Absolutely. So yes, we hire globally. So we have major hiring that's going on in India, also in Singapore, several different countries in EMEA. Basically, all of the regions are represented within our 300 global sites across the entire world. So we do have locations for you. I will also add that, as I alluded to earlier, a lot of our positions have gone to either remote or hybrid positions, as others have indicated as well with their companies in response to COVID. The best talent is truly what we're trying to capture. And if this is a position that can be done remotely, we've identified that in the job description that you'll see on our website. So it'll either be in the title or somewhere within the job description itself, probably right above the qualifications for the role. One other thing that I wanted to chat about really quickly, because there was a question about security clearance, and as part of the company, as part of one of the 4 companies that comprise Raytheon Technologies, you can imagine that we have a considerable number of defense contracts with the U.S. government and with governments across the world. In the United States, you, depending on what project you're working on or product, you could be required to have a security clearance, but that usually comprises about 30% of our business. So 70% of our business would not require the security clearance. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Thank you for that explanation for us. It's very, very helpful. Maria, for Entity, what does it look like? Y'all hire international, yes or no? What does remote roles look like? Give us a high level view of that. And then we've got one more question I really want to dive in on too.
Yeah, so I mean, ours is a little different because, we're looking for students and not necessarily looking to hire at this time. But unfortunately for students, it is really hard to enroll international. And part of that is related to our financing options. A lot of them do require a US-based social security number. And the other thing is that our mentorship is really, really high touch. Like, we talk to our students a lot. I think that's the beauty of this, sort of boot camp compared to others out there, is we really, really care about our students. So it's harder when folks are international because of time differences and things like that. And a lot of our hiring companies are based in the US as well. So it's a lot harder.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. I think that very much clarifies stuff for people. We did have a lot of people reaching out about international applications for your academy. So thank you for clarifying that for people.
Yeah, I mean, the program itself, if you're in the US, is remote.
Okay, cool.
We can take it from anywhere.
All right. I'm going to ask y'all, I did put it in the chat, but if you're not part of the panelists right now, you got to stay on mute, please. Otherwise, we're going to have to remove people if they keep coming off mute with background noises. So sorry, I'll promise we were not going to get rid of people, willy-nilly. Just do your best to make sure that you remain on mute, please. Okay, so Ed, I think you're the only person we haven't talked to on this subject. Do you want to touch high level on Pacific Western Bank when it comes to international hiring, remote roles, and that whole, in that area?
Yeah, so we don't do international hiring. We are a U.S. bank. So to work with us, you do have to be based in the U.S. We do have some roles, specifically in the tech portion. So in our IT department, in our fintech, we do a lot of work in digital banking where if you require sponsorship, we are open to it. There's, it really does, it's like a case by case basis. It depends on the position itself, whether we would be able to get approved for a sponsorship or not. But we don't do international. Now, in terms of remote work, we have identified a date for us to come back into the office. That's actually in like 2 weeks. So as a bank, as an employer, we do want people to come back into our offices. Now, how that looks like, and the shape of it going forward is going to be, there's a lot of flexibility afforded to our managers. So if your manager feels that you don't need to be in the office every day, that will be something between him or her with their staff to work through. So yes, we do want you to come back into the office. How that looks like, how often that looks like, there's still a lot of flexibility in that. And I'll go back to tech positions again. A lot of those, you don't need to be in office. You could do that, in the comforts of your own home. So there's a lot more flexibility afforded to those employees. Now, on the flip side to that, we have a lot of people that work in our branches. So if you work in a branch, if you're a teller, if you're a branch manager or something of that sort, you do have to come back into the office. That's something, if you're handling cash or something like that, it's hard to do it virtually, although we're trying to solve that on our own. But in terms of working in a branch, you do have to be in the branch, and it is a full-time position, full-time in branches.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ed. All right, so we have about 10 minutes left before we need to go into our breakout sessions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep asking questions to the team members here. If you have questions, please feel free to keep sending them. We'll try to get to as many as we can. One question that I really want to make sure we are able to touch on for all of you. Let's talk about what where your company currently is in terms of inclusion and diversity. And what are you most excited about that's coming up, to keep bolstering the goals that so many of us have about having, truly inclusive, representative, orgs that really are better able to help help your clients, help your customers. Let's start with Meta. Monique, what does Meta have going on, currently, and what are you most excited to see in the future?
Yeah, I think I touched a little bit on this during my presentation, but I think starting even with the remote work, by opening up remote work, I really believe that we're tapping into areas that maybe we previously missed out on just with the in-office requirements. So I'm really excited about that. I think we're making huge strides in terms of making sure that our product spaces really represent the communities that we're servicing at this time. In terms of on the back end, the opportunities to make sure that there's no bias in the interview process. We do require all of our interviewers to take 2 trainings. One of them is on managing bias in the interview process, and the other is on structured interviewing. So making sure to really evaluate the candidate skill set in a fair and equitable way. So I'd say those are some that are close to home for me, especially since I'm on the front lines of being able to talk to candidates and really expand our search in other spaces. I would also say we have a lot of return to work programs, as well as early development programs. For example, if anyone's interested in getting into recruiting, quick plug, we have a great program that we allow called the Sourcer Development Program, which is targeted towards people that have no experience in the recruitment field, who are just interested in wanting to learn. It's basically a 1-year vocational program where you can come in, actually learn Meta's processes and how we recruit here. And then at the 1-year mark, you do have the capability to apply for a full-time opportunity. and, you know, hit the ground running when it comes to your career. So I'd say we're really focused on early development, expanding our search in other global areas, and just making sure that, you know, we're giving a fair opportunity to everybody that's interested in working in the tech space.
I love that. Thank you so much, Monique. Let's see, let's try and kind of rearrange the order here. Maria, you were towards the end of the last question. So let's talk to you about Entity Academy. What does DEI, you know, kind of look like within the org? And what are you most excited to be seeing?
Yeah, so within the organization itself, you know, we are very diverse. We are still a small company, but, you know, in terms of our student population, I was just trying to pull up the numbers because I know I shared them in our last career fair last month. But at the moment, the majority of our students are Black or African American at about 40%. I wish I was able to pull up the exact numbers and give you kind of a more in-depth breakdown, but you know, that is part of our whole mission, is to get more diversity into the tech field. And in order to do that, you know, our students need to be, you know, diverse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And apologies for putting you on the spot. You're more than welcome to share those figures in the chat if you'd like to. But thank you so much for handling that. Let's see. Let's talk to Ed. What does this look like at Pacific Western Bank? Let's talk about, you know, currently where y'all are with DEI and what you're most excited to see.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in the last couple of years, we've made some great strides in this realm, in DE&I. A couple of the data I'll just share with everyone. Well, one is, you know, part of the reason why we're taking part in this job fair is that we do have a lot of openings within our in our technical positions, technical searches, and I think with a lot of companies that deal in this space, we want to increase our representation in terms of women in our technical position. So that's something that we're actively looking into, increase, you know, not necessarily hires, but increase our outreach, increase our applicant pool, so that, you know, if you just do the math, if there's more diversity in the applicant pool, there's going to be more diversity in the hires. So that's, you know, specifically speaking to technical positions, but just where we are as an organization, DE&I think we've got the D, we've got the E, it's the I. I think that's kind of like our next step. We want to make sure that we continue to foster that inclusive culture that we think we have, but we want to make sure that we continue to support that as a HR organization for the bank. So just at a very high level, this is on our website, but I'll share with the folks. So just overall as a bank, we, in terms of female male breakdown, 58% of our employee base are female. So that's something that we could feel very proud of. And then also just in terms of racial breakup, 49% are diverse based on race. So those are two things that we're very proud of, because it shows that, you know, our focus on diversity is working in terms of the makeup of the bank itself. And then if we go into at a higher level, so going to management positions and above, into executive, in terms of management, it's a 50-50 breakdown between female male. And then when we go into in terms of racial breakdown, we have about 1/3 of our management that is diverse. So there's definitely some, you know, some areas of opportunities for us in that space. But I think that's kind of what I look forward to the most, is making an impact there, to see if we could increase the diversity, because as you can see, just overall as a bank, we're very diverse, and it'd be nice to see that reflected into the management positions as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ed. We only have 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure we hold time here to explain the breakout sessions and such. Does anybody else that I haven't spoken to, does anybody else want to speak on this, or because I don't want to put people on the spot if you'd rather keep moving on into our breakouts. Laura? All right, Laura, you go first, then Roberta's going to go.
Passion. Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm the head of diversity and inclusion and employer branding at Back Market. My role, I can talk fast. My role was created about 6 months ago, honestly, because Back Market really saw that as we're expanding globally, we need to really represent, obviously, our markets a lot more. And we are traditionally a French tech company. I'm so pleased to say that we've introduced a whole host of things that have just made us a much more inclusive organization. We genuinely believe that inclusive practices benefit all demographics. However, there are obviously some things that we need to do to make sure that we are putting our proposition in front of all sorts of people, and making sure that the top of the funnel is reaching those people. So one thing that we've done in the US is introduce something called diverse slates, which means that we are ensuring before we get to the shortlist stage that we have a good mix of demographics in that shortlist to level the playing field. Other things we're doing sort of more internally. So parents, for example, we have parental stipends, we have pay gap analyses, we have all sorts of cool things like that. We've just launched 2 new affinity groups as well, which will have executive sponsorship, but we'll also have first dibs at things like leadership symposiums, which we're looking to implement later in this year to really make sure that leadership gets a lot more visibility from the demographics that we need to ensure are sort of moving up into those more underrepresented roles. But anyway, I'm not going to talk for too long. I know you need to go, but anybody, please reach out to me if you want to know more about what Back Market's doing in that space.
Thank you, Laura. Roberta, you're going to bring us home on this. What does this look like at Collins?
Woo, okay, I'll try to bring it home quickly. At Collins Aerospace, we have executive support of all of our employee resource groups. So that includes our Pride resource group, Women, Generations, Abilities, African American, Asian Pacific Islander. There are 9, and I'm losing track right now trying to fit into the time slot, but we have 9 here, and each one of our sites has an active chapter of each of those employee resource groups. Also, we are actively ensuring that candidates for a majority of our positions are actually speaking to a diverse interview panel, so you can understand how individuals from underrepresented groups are being represented and the opportunities for you within the company, and you can actually ask specific questions about that. So those are just 2 of the things I'm really excited about, but so many other things are running in the background as well.